Hey everyone, Ashley Mailloux here with the Daily Racing Forum. We're going to look at a stakes preview for a race this Saturday, June 3rd, up at Woodbine. Their 8th race is the Grade 3 Belle Mahone at 1.1 miles on the synthetic. It's attracted a really nice field. It's a big field of 9. Now there's going to be one name that's going to kind of stick out here on the entry card, and that's the number 1 Moira for Kevin Attard. The Queen's Plate winner from 2022 is going to make her 4-year-old debut, and this is just honestly, even if you took her out of this race, there's some really nice horses in here, but she's going to be the one that gets all the attention on Saturday up at Woodbine, as we have not seen her since her try in the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf. But 2 to 5 is the morning line. Some other names in here. Number 3 is Super Hoity Toity, a 5-time winner from 9 career starts, trained by Mark Casse. Patrick Husbands has them out. Il Malacchio, this is a horse for Marty Drexler, who she's been accomplished. She's really had some really nice races, and I understand she's not necessarily always winning, but a major player. She is 10 for 21 in terms of top 2 finishes. And then some other horses that are intriguing. The number 9 Keyflower, another one from Mark Casse, coming out of some turf races at Woodbine and more recently at Gulfstream Park. Danny Gargan and Mike Stidham also have horses in this field at big prices of 20 to 1. So be interesting to see the tote action on some others, but have to think we're going to start with the number 1 Moira. Moira 2 to 5 is going to be very tough to beat. Just looking at her performances, we'll take a look at that Queen's Plate win back in August. Just how impressive she was. Not only was she facing her male rivals in this spot, but she's going to open up on them. I mean, at this point, she's going to draw clear in here, and it's going to be a battle for the minor shares at best. You can see some late runs for other horses, but she is still just cranking it out at this point. Ends up being a 7th length winner, 97 Beyer speed figure. And after that, we don't see her in any of the other Triple Crown races in Canada. They waited and they put her in the Grade 1 EP Taylor. She ends up finishing 2nd in there. She did have some issues in that race and was causing some interference, so she was disqualified and placed 8th in that field of 9. And then they took a shot in the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf, and she ran very well. Just looking at who she faced in that race, Lady Spite Spirit in Italian, she just faced really strong older horses, to be more specific as well, those female rivals, and she ended up finishing 5th in there, beaten by 6 lengths. So she is getting back on, I think, what a surface that's been very good to her in the past, as we saw in the Queen's Plate, where she's yet to finish worse than 2nd up at Woodbine on their synthetic. But 2 to 5, a very short price to take, but she deserves all the respect in this spot. The number 2, Batya, this one out of the Josie Carroll barn. This horse is going to have been all over the place in a couple other barns in the States. Just has that 1 start up at Woodbine. It was a pretty good 2nd. This horse was able to close from the back of the pack to finish 2nd behind Silver. Magnetized, beaten by a 1.5 lengths. True closer through and through. Look down the past performances. This horse is really never in kind of that first flight early on, never in a hurry, and is one that you can see in the past has actually gone further than 1.1 So pace will be what Batya needs, and she'll also need to step up, as she has not been in graded stakes competition or even stakes competition in quite some time. The number 3, Super Hoity Toity, as I mentioned, a 5-time winner from 9 starts in her career, a 4-year-old daughter of Uncle Mo. Now, she disappointed in her last outing, her only start of 2023, which is at Gulfstream Park. But I wanted to look at that race 2 back in the Ontario Damsel. It was a compact field of 5. You can see her here, though. She's the number 2. She's going to be flying in here. And the number 5 is going to be Sister Seagull, who she'll have to face again. And the way she's going to kind of kick on here toward the outside of these 2 other runners that were doing kind of that hard work on the front end, just makes it look easy. She was a short price in that field and won like she should have, but it was a really good performance. And for her, it was her first time kind of going 1.1 on the synthetic in quite some time. Prior to that, they'd gone 7/8, they'd done the mile on the turf, and I just thought it was a nice performance. Now, another one, I think she's going to get her class, tested in here, just with Moira in here, but she's a very nice filly in her own regard. Even looking at her most recent performance, I said she disappointed a little bit. She did have some troubles in that race at Gulfstream Park, so I can kind of give her some forgiveness for that effort, and maybe just having a race under her belt does give her a little bit of a fitness edge over several others in here. The number 4, Sister Seagull, we saw was 4th in that Ontario Damsel, and prior to that, she had 2 wins in a row. You can see they put her in the Bison City and the Wonderwear, and she actually participated in all 3 of those kind of Canadian Triple Tiara races. She finished 2nd in the Woodbine Elks behind Moira, and then she ended up winning the 2nd and 3rd legs quite impressively. Ontario Damsel, though, she fell flat, and after seeing that performance, they put her kind of to the sidelines, and I think it was the right move. She's been training pretty well for Catherine Day Phillips, who has been really off to a really hot start at the meet. 4 for 14 in terms of wins, but 8 for 14 in the money. And I just think Catherine Day Phillips, the work that she does with the string that she has is really impressive. So Sister Seagull is going to be a big price in this spot. But we saw what she was able to do against her female rivals last year as a 3-year-old. The number 5, Il Macchio, this one out of the Marty Drexler barn. We'll take a look at her most recent win, which is late in the season, back on December 10th. In a stakes race, and just looking at her here, you can see she's the number 6, the black silks with that black and white brow band that we see on all those Marty Drexler runners. She gets to the outside in here, and she's just going to kind of mow down those front runners and is much the best in this field. Other ones are trying to run late, and they're just unable to make up any ground. And she's kind of a little bit of a bigger mare you can see compared to some of these other horses in their frames. And I just thought it was a good performance. I like her for a couple of reasons, because in terms of trip, she's really rarely on the front end. We've seen her very close to it in the past, but she's more of a horse that's going to sit, maybe give the pace setters 2 or 3 lengths in front of her and make her late run like we saw in that race. And I thought it was good. Now, they did try her at Turfway Park. She's another one that does have a race under her belt. She was able to split that field in Latonia, but she faced some nice horses in there. Kate's Kingdom, a very respectable runner, especially on turf and synthetic. And even the winner ended up running a really big race. So I do like this mare also, in kind of comparison to others, does have a start in 2023. The number 6, Missy Greer, 20-1 on the morning line. Danny Gargan ships this one in from New York, and looking at her performances, her best chances of winning have always been when she's been forwardly placed. When she's been able to kind of get an easy lead, she's been very dangerous, and when she's kind of taken pressure, she's been able to hang around for a piece or two. It'll be curious to see how she does on a new surface. She's never been on a synthetic surface in her career. She does have turf races though, but she's 0 for 4 on the turf. Her best races have been on the dirt. So it's an interesting move to see her kind of come up to Woodbine for this race, and you're going to get a big price on her this Saturday. The number 7, Perfect, another horse coming in from the States. This one trained by Mike Stidham, was 5th in that Latonia, so exits that same race as the number 5, Il Malacchio. But prior to that, she was 3rd in the Wintergreen. Faced, again, Kate's Kingdom in there, Grand Ave Girl, very respectable runners. And prior to that, she was able to get a win already in 2023. So when I look at her races, I kind of key in on that race two starts back. She raced pretty well in the Wintergreen, which was a big field. And she did fall flat, though, in that most recent outing. So she's been on the shelf since late March. Does have a slew of workouts at Delaware. And look at that most recent drill. 48 flat, the fastest of 71 workers. Gonna get Ryan Munger in the saddle, who's been certainly, in my opinion, one to watch. A new addition to the jockey colony up at Woodbine, and has been on a tear, I believe, had a 3-win day just several race days ago. So keep your eyes on the jock. And I said another one that's going to be probably a big price on the top board, just because Moira 2-5 on the morning line. The number 8, Saratoga Vision, was most recently 6th in the Grade 3 Ontario Matron, and really just didn't get kind of rolling from the back of the pack. Another horse that I think is a little unpredictable, can be further back or can kind of split a field mid-pack and make a late run. But looking at what she's had to offer so far, I think she's very hard to kind of endorse in a top spot. Maybe there is a case you can make a minor share, but just looking at how she's kind of tackled stakes competition in the past, I think the waters might be a little deep for her this Saturday. And then rounding out the field, one more to go, the number 9, Keyflower, a French-bred mare who's in the barn of Mark Cassie, was kind of in France for a while, had a start at Woodbine. The EP Taylor went out to the West Coast, and now back up at Woodbine. And looking at those races, it's taken a little bit of time for her to get rolling, but she's coming off into this race off one of her best performances since coming over here. It's a 2nd place finish, an 83 buyer speed figure against allowance optional competition down at Gulfstream. She's behind Traffic Song, who, when you look at Traffic Song, was very game in that race, is not going to let anyone kind of pass her in the stretch. But in the case of Keyflower, is only beaten by half a length, was forwardly placed throughout there. Interesting to note, Rafael Hernandez climbs aboard. That's typically who we've seen team up with Moira in the past. And I think out of the Mark Cassie, runners in here, she's a little bit of an unknown, just because we haven't seen her over the synthetic up at Woodbine, or just, in her synthetic races. She actually does have 2, and she fared well, but you have to go pretty far back to find them. So maybe a wild card at what figures to be a good price. She's 15-1 on the morning line, but I could see her actually taking a little bit of play in here, and would be a horse to maybe use underneath in the exotic. So that is the field, top to bottom, of 9 runners. As I always say, it's something I don't want to do, but it's really tough not to endorse the favorite in here, the number 1, Moira. And just looking at her resume and what she's been able to do so far in her career, really big numbers. Her campaign last year as a 3-year-old, she was very impressive. And even looking at her races where she was disqualified, or when she faced her kind of older female rivals at Keeneland, really still was impressed with her, just knowing that she was able to finish 5th against a really big group. So very short price this Saturday, but I think she's going to be extremely tough out of the rest of the field. I thought the number 5, Malakio, is a horse to use, just knowing she's got the ability to rate horses. She's certainly got plenty of race day experience, and she does have that race under her belt in 2023, which I thought was fair. It could have been a bit better, but we also hadn't seen her in a couple months. And I thought the race 2 back that we showed that replay for was very impressive. The number 7, Perfect. Just looking at the connections, I thought jockey trainer both have some allure here, with Mike Stidham sending this horse up to Woodbine. The jock's been riding well, and I thought the Winter Green was the race maybe to key in on, and trying to get sneaky here with a horse that I think is going to offer a price. And then finally, the number 3, Super Hoity Toity. I think she's going to take a lot of respect in here. We showed that performance in the Ontario Damsel. We'll see what she can do. Obviously loves the synthetic up at Woodbine, and I think we'll probably take a lot of play in here. But I was trying to get maybe a little cute by using horses that might offer more value underneath Moira, because I think she's going to be extremely tough to beat in this Saturday's stakes race. Good luck.